Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys had a great Resurrection Sunday, and today is beautiful as well. The sun is shining and I can't ask for any better. So, well, today I'm going to make some meatloaf to feed my friends that I feed every Monday and Friday. So come along and watch me as I make my meatloaf. I'm going to make a 5-pound meatloaf. That's a big meatloaf. So watch me as I make my meatloaf. I don't really have a recipe for it. It's just one of those, I just throw a little bit of this and a little bit of that in it. So come along and watch. Okay, so I've got 2 pounds of sausage and 2 pounds of ground organic beef and a pound of venison. So I'm gonna put all them in my stand mixer bowl. And I found a little quick cheat to make my meatloaf. I used to do it by hand, which is really cold with the meat, and sometimes it hurts your hands. So I learned this little trick. You can use your bread hook in your mixer bowl, and it will mix it all together perfectly. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have about 8 people I'm going to feed with this, so I need a decent sized meatloaf, obviously. And all these go together so well. That makes the best meatloaf. Okay. These are not the easiest to get open, but it is good ground meat. It's a lot of meat. 5 eggs in there. There's 1. 2. And 5. Okay, now to get together my seasonings. Clean off where I was at here. All right, let's put this in there and get this to mix up before I add everything else and have it go flying all over the place on me. So, I'll just put that down in there and turn it on low. So you can at least get the eggs and the meat incorporating. See how it cuts through all of it and it starts to mix it really well. Super easy way to do a meatloaf. Now, obviously doing 5 pounds of beef or anything or any meat in here is going to be a lot. So you want to start out low or everything's going to fly out on you. And then I just turn that up and let it keep blending it together. And it mixes all 3 meats together well. And then I'll start adding all my other stuff to it. And I'm going to add a sleeve of Ritz crackers, and these are the garden vegetable Ritz. It just kicks up the flavor. I'm going to put a little barbecue sauce, some ketchup, a little bit of mustard, and a little bit of Worcestershire, and a little bit of A1, and some chopped up onion and seasonings. I've got my crackers. Like I said, this one I just throw in the kitchen sink. I don't have a recipe. And it's funny thing, sorry, I always say I never make the same meatloaf twice because it's whatever I find to throw in with it. But they're always good. Push that down in there. I normally use the regular Ritz, but I didn't have any on hand. And I'm all about using what I got on hand. And it experiments, and a lot of times when you do that, you find that it really does taste good when you try different things. So don't be afraid to try something just because, oh, it's not the regular, because a lot of times it'll turn out to be really good. And the only thing different with the garden blend and regular Ritz is you've got probably more garlic and vegetable flavors in there, which is really good though. Alrighty. That's pretty well mixed. Let me give you a close-up here. See, it's nice and mixed there. Okay, now I'm just gonna pour these in there. And that may seem like a lot, a whole sleeve of crackers, but it's really not. That's like I said, 5 pounds of meat there, so. Okay. Oh, yikes. I should have expected that. And there's about a cup of ketchup in here, so I'm just gonna pour it all in there. It's what's left in the bottle. Yeah, good enough. Ah, good enough. Clean up on aisle 1. Loving the spring weather. How about you guys? Tilled up some garden to make some flower beds yesterday. Can't wait to get planting. Okay. Then I'm gonna put there's probably about a half a cup of barbecue sauce in this bottle. Maybe a little more, so I'm gonna put that in there. It probably can actually use a little bit more because 5 pounds of meat is a lot. And when you think you're putting too much in, you're not, because it's got to disperse between 5 pounds of meat. And if you think about making a 1 pound meatloaf, you use a decent amount in a 1 pound. So, Okay. Let's do a little bit of A1. Yeah, that one's empty, I think. I'm going to have to go get another bottle. Let's do the lamb parents. These just give it more of the smokier, steak-like taste. So good. I don't use a lot of it, just a little. And some mustard. And the mustard just breaks some of the richness of the barbecue and the ketchup, but it just blends it so well together. It's really good. All right. All righty, let's get some pepper. Like I said, I just throw the kitchen sink in it. And what else do we want in there? How about a little bit of Creole? Just a little bit, not much. And how about some Dash Garden Blend? Alrighty, now let me throw my onion in my food processor because I have some people who are not a fan of big old chunks of onion. So I'm gonna just put it down in there and chop it up. There we go. Small enough that once it cooks, it'll be soft and you won't be able to see it. And hopefully this doesn't fly over the edges because this is pretty full. We will see. Oops, making a mess there. And I want to put a little bit of milk in it because milk helps to break down the meat fibers and makes it a little bit more moist. So let's do, how about 3/4 of a cup in here? Because it all right, here we go. Ready? Let's bring it close up so we can see how this is gonna work. All righty, slow we go. Well, we're not over the edges yet. Yay. I promise this tastes really good. Best meatloaf ever. It looks yucky, but it tastes amazing. Lock that so it don't come up. And see, it's just stirring it perfectly. I mean, like I said, granted you could use your hands and blend it, but man, that's a lot of meat to work with your hands and it's cold. Which, when you get older, you get arthritis in your hands and stuff, it's a little bit harder to work. Okay, now we can turn that up a little bit more. Now that all the liquid's in there, it's not gonna fly out on me. Looks great. And I think I might add a little bit of salt to that. You wouldn't think after everything I put in it, it would need salt, but it does. Just a little bit of a handful, about a teaspoon. Okay, I'm gonna see if we can get any more barbecue one and put a little bit out of it. I will list in the description box below the items that I do use in my meatloaf. But the proportion, that's something you're gonna have to just eyeball, because it's just one of those things that there's no real grand way that you can proportion the things you put in. I mean, I guess unless I sat and actually did it and measured each thing, but even still, you have to eyeball a meatloaf a lot of times to see, does it look moist enough? Is the meat soft enough? And then you just kind of go from there. Now, I've done a savory meatloaf before. This is savory, but it's more of a barbecue sweet meatloaf. But I've done one that's more of a beef flavor, and it's really good. I'll have to show you guys that sometime. You'd like it. Get that mixed in there. And the sausage and the ground beef in here together, they make the best meatloaf. The texture and the flavor, it just goes so well. If you don't put sausage in your ground beef meatloaf, you really need to try it. It's so good. And I'm gonna turn it on higher so it'll get that blended, so I can get it in the oven. And then I'll show you my side that I'm gonna make with this after I clean this mess up. See how that blends it really well? It's pretty well incorporated, I believe. I'm gonna take that out here in a minute and put it in my baking dish, and I'll show you. Okay, I believe we're good there. And I'll see you once I put it out in my dish too. Hands are still wet. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna have to scoop this in by hand because it's too heavy and too much. Now this I don't mind touching my hands because I got gloves on. See? It's all really well mixed. You can't really see the individual seasonings and the onions and stuff like that. The mixer mixes it well. That's a big old meatloaf. It's gonna take forever to cook. At least an hour. I got my oven set at 375, so we're looking at least an hour. Give me time to clean up my mess and make my potatoes here. And I'll show you what I'm gonna do with my potatoes. Yep, that's a lot of meatloaf. A lot of meatloaf, but that's okay. It'll go a long way. Alrighty, and there's my 5-pound meatloaf right there. See, it's all mixed really well. So, and I just took some just regular barbecue sauce and put that over that. Now, normally what I like to do for my topping is in a bowl, I'll mix barbecue sauce, ketchup, mustard, and a little bit of brown sugar, and then I'll put it over that. But I'm out of ketchup, so we'll just do barbecue sauce, which will be just fine. Purple potatoes that I cut up into smaller pieces, and I'm gonna boil them for just a little bit, and then I'm going to drain them and put some ranch and Parmesan and a little bit of cheddar cheese and bake them till they're good and crispy. I boil them so they can get good and soft, and then put them in the oven so that way they can brown the rest of the way, but they're done. Otherwise, if I bake them from raw, they take forever to get done. I'm going to add a little bit of bacon grease to my water as it boils because it flavors the potatoes so good. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. And then a little bit of butter. There we go. So we'll let that get good and tender. And then put it in there with my other stuff that I'll show you. I boiled my potatoes and drained them. So I put them in the bowl, and there's like about 3 tablespoons of butter in the bottom of my bowl. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a little bit of garlic and herb dash on this. And these are pretty tender. Like I said, I cooked the potatoes down enough to where they're almost fork tender, but not completely, because I don't want them to be mush before I put them in the oven with my other stuff. And a little bit of pepper. A lot of pepper. And I've got, there's probably about 1.5 cups of ranch there. And I'm gonna just, I mixed a little tiny bit of milk with it to make it thinner, so it will mix for me. And I poured that over my potatoes. And I got a pretty large baking dish over here that I put parchment paper on. And I even sprayed the parchment paper because this kind of stuff tends to stick pretty easily to just about anything. We start putting cheese on it. And I'm gonna put Parmesan on that. A decent amount. I want these cheesy. Okay, there's that. And I'm gonna put about 1 cup of, maybe about 2 cups of mild shredded cheddar. Add this up. Put it, do it without making a mess. And then these are gonna go back in the oven at 400 until the cheese is nice and melted and bubbly and golden brown. This is so good. I mean, it smells so good while I'm mixing it even. The cheese is already starting to melt, but that's okay. You could even throw in some bacon crumbles, or if you had leftover bacon in the fridge that's cooked, you could crumble that in here and it would be amazing. Which I've done that with the bacon before. Okay, now I'm just gonna put this in my baking dish. That didn't go as planned. That's okay, we got this. Okay, I'll show you this here. Close up, let me get all the goodies out of here, which I think I pretty much do. Okay. Now, let's spread this so it all gets good and crispy on top. Potatoes. And like I said, it would be really good with bacon in it. But I had some in there, I didn't cook it up, I was too lazy, so we're not putting bacon. But if you see when I boiled them, I did put bacon grease in the potatoes when I boiled it, so that just adds the bacon smoky flavor. So I'm gonna cook that at 400 until the top is golden brown and crispy. That will go great with our meatloaf. Makes a great side with it, so I'll show you all those when they're done. Alrighty, and there's our cheesy Parmesan ranch baked potatoes, and there is our meatloaf. And it tastes amazing.